Hey guys, Darth Hink here. And so today I wanted to bring you a follow-up video to my series on collagen. If you haven't seen my videos on collagen, there's like a hard gainers video. There's also like a collagen part 1, and then there's like another collagen video where I talked about the importance of collagen when it comes to actual like penile enlargement. And this is primarily due to the fact that the tunica, the rate limiting step of enlargement, is composed of type 1 and type 3 collagen. We want our collagen to be able to expand and enlarge. We want to avoid things that are going to thicken the tunica and make it more difficult to expand or make it stiffer. And so that happens to be some research, some very new research that we're going to be talking about today. Primarily, this paper right here is what started all this. Now, this was published in 2025, and it's titled Collagen Peptide Supplementation Enhances Muscle Tendon Stiffness and Explosive Strength, a 16-week randomized controlled trial. Now, guys, let me just be explicitly clear because I don't know how the message got lost so badly in the last video, but the point of this paper, the point of this video is going to be talking about the negative effects of using additional collagen supplementation or potentially things that are going to increase collagen production. That's it, okay? I'm not saying you have to avoid all types of collagen. I'm not saying that, if you're taking some sort of collagen because of your skin or whatever you want to do, that you have to stop it, whatever. I'm a clown in a mask. Talk to a doctor, talk to your doctor about what's best for you. So I immediately saw this paper and I was concerned because what it talks about is that even in the title, it says muscle tendon stiffness is enhanced by collagen supplementation, which once again, tendon stiffness is the opposite of what we want. And so guys, the correlation between the tunica and a tendon is that they're both made of primarily types 1 and type 3 collagen. And so you can look at some of these particular tendon behaviors and make some extrapolation on how that relates to the tunica. Now, this is not a one-to-one study. This is not specifically looking at the tunica. So just take that with a grain of salt and use your brains, guys. Now, what they did is they had 50 participants and they did what's called a double-blind placebo-controlled trial, meaning that both the participants and the administrators were blind to which group was getting what. So basically, the participants were given pills and they didn't know whether the pills were a placebo or basically a sugar pill or actual collagen supplementation. And over 16 weeks, they investigated the different parameters, including the muscle tendon strength and explosiveness of the exercise. So guys, what they found was that in the group that received the collagen, you had increased stiffness of that tendon. Not only that, but you had something called the RTD, or the rate of torque development, also increased. Now, how does this relate to stiffness? Well, guys, if you think about a tendon, the stiffer the tendon is, the more immediate the impact is when basically the muscle flexes to where you actually get the result you want. Imagine if you had like a hard wire, pulling on one end of the wire is going to immediately lead to the other end pulling, versus if you had a bungee cord and it could actually like stretch out, and then once you get to that stretched point, that's when it would actually move. Now, interestingly, they didn't see any difference when it came to the actual thickness of the tendon on MRI. So what they found in this study, that actually collagen supplementation, if you are looking to like build muscle and actually like maybe improve your explosiveness or even potentially recover from some sort of tendon injury, then yes, supplementing collagen is a good thing. But if you're trying to enlarge the size of your member, where we do not want a thickened tunica, where we do not want a stiff tunica, we want a stretchy tunica that's going to expand, then supplementing with collagen, I conclude, is going to be a bad thing. Now, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. I would say, for the most part, very little overlap between actual bodybuilding and actual penile enlargement. People butcher this incorrectly all the time, guys, but this is once again one of those instances where actually something good for bodybuilding is actually very bad for actual penile enlargement. Now, guys, I wanted to do some other research, and so quickly I found a couple of other papers that show something very similar. Now, in this first paper, which I'll put the title of it right here, I'm not going to bore you with it, but it's what we call a meta-analysis, where they looked at basically dozens and dozens of paper, looked at all of the different results, synthesized them together, and came up with one conclusion. Now, in this paper, they actually found that collagen supplementation did lead to an increase in tendon thickness. So not only do we see the stiffness, but we also see the increased thickness. However, I do think it's important to note that this isn't like supplementing collagen for 1 or 2 weeks. This is like chronic supplementation. So in the last paper we did, it was a 16-week trial. In this paper, they're looking at a difference in 12 weeks before they actually were able to notice a difference, guys. So having a scoop of extra collagen or whatever is not going to make a difference on an acute level. We're talking about daily for several weeks. Now, they concluded that these tendon increases came from the additional collagen. Now, guys, you have to understand the way collagen works is it's not like you eat collagen, then it goes right to your collagen and makes more collagen. Like, no, you eat it, it gets broken down into the different byproducts that are then the building blocks for more collagen. But the more collagen you consume, the more building blocks you have available. So when you have a stimulus, like a stretch stimulus, which is going to then secrete not only collagen, but also extracellular matrix strengthening, meaning the connections between the two to strengthen, that is a combination for decreased penile growth over time, in my opinion. Now, quickly, we're going to look at this paper here. Once again, it's another randomized controlled trial of 12 weeks, looking at basically how collagen impacts resistance training. Now, this is in middle-aged men, okay? So this is something that spoke to my, damn near almost 50-year-old heart. And so, guys, I want to read an excerpt from the introduction, guys, which, once again, if you're not reading these papers, I'm going to make sure Callie has a link to all these papers in the description, but you should actually read them and form your own conclusions. But one of the excerpts here is that to further enhance tendon adaptations to chronic resistance exercise, recent studies have shown that supplementing with collagen can increase tendon cross-surface area, meaning make the tendons thicker, and tendon stiffness and Young's modulus. This is probably a consequence of basically induced collagen synthesis, so you have increased collagen production and increased bioavailability of the collagen amino acids, which may simulate collagen synthesis independently of resistance exercise. So guys, what that means is basically when you are doing different exercises, and how I think this relates to PE is that when you're doing these different stretching, different tugging, where you have these mechanoreceptors that go off and say, uh-oh, this tissue is getting stretched, we need to make more collagen. When you have more collagen available from increased consumption, you're going to see increased stiffness and increased thickness, which is the opposite of what we want. Which, it's kind of ironic that I'm saying, oh, in PP studies, you don't want increased stiffness and you don't want increased thickness, but we're actually talking about the collagen, not of the actual tissue itself, guys. I think most importantly from the study is that if you actually look at this table here, it takes you through and you can see things like stiffness being increased. But I think even more importantly is they actually mention elongation here. Now, if you look at the group that actually had collagen, you see significant decrease in not only elongation, but also the percentage of strain that is available for the actual tendon stretching. There are some people on here that talk a lot about oh, you need to try to calculate their percentage strain. So to all those people, this is saying that you are not going to be able to basically, number one, stretch as much, and you're not going to be able to get to that ideal 105% strain or whatever the hell it is if you are supplementing with collagen for a longer level, if you're extrapolating the data. And so we also saw that there was increased stiffness and increased tendon thickness, guys. Now, I did think this excerpt was very important in the conclusion, okay? And so they show that ingesting the collagen prior to resistance exercise increases whole body collagen synthesis in the hours following resistance training in both young and middle-aged men. The greater bioavailability of key collagen amino acids may have stimulated greater whole body collagen synthesis by supplying the crucial amino acids and having increased collagen synthesis, or by stimulating collagen synthesis independently. Now, why do I think that's important? It's basically saying that if you feel like you have to supplement with collagen, okay, it's that important to you, just do it at a time where it's not around your PE, okay? So if you take a scoop of collagen in the morning, you're those collagen peptides are going to peak in bioavailability within the several hours after you eat, and then they're going to go less and less and less. And so then if you do PE in the evening, yes, compared to your average person, you're still going to have increased collagen building blocks. But I think that the effect that the additional collagen would have would be significantly less. So for all those people that can't possibly fathom not taking collagen supplementation, just try to adjust your timing if you want to do it that way. So guys, this is just some additional data, I think, proving my point about the potentially harmful effects of collagen supplementation. Figure out what's right for you. This is just my interpretation of the data. You read the studies and figure out, what you think, okay? I just can't fathom a way that increased basically collagen production and increased stiffness of the tissue would be helpful when it comes to PE. And in fact, I think it would do quite the opposite, especially when we're talking about long-term gains. Now, I don't think that taking collagen and doing PE is going to basically stop you from gaining. I think you can still make gains if you're doing both. However, I do think it can limit the amount of gains, and especially when we're talking about long-term growth. People always talk about that like, oh, that breaking through the plateau. I think that the rate of you plateauing longer at a smaller size is going to be much higher if you do additional collagen supplementation or if you chronically do things that are going to increase collagen production. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments, okay? Now, it is possible to get bigger, guys. You've seen my channel. You've seen what I do. If you haven't seen my Hink trial, I prove that 7 participants with pictures grew over 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth using the methods that I teach, which are very science-based, like this video here. So if you're interested in that, please consider checking out the Hink trial and consider checking out my course, which is science-based, where you can see step-by-step what you need to do, like before PE, inventory that you need to do, like how do you know if it's working, how to measure correctly, like everything step-by-step meticulously laid out is in the course. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Just remember, there's nothing wrong with self-improvement, but you are enough, just as you are. All right, guys, peace and love.
Dr. Hink got the plug on the health, yeah. His office, no stealth, yeah. Cool up that below the belt, yeah. Checks and balance, he's managing. Working miracles, no damage. Got you covered, no panicking. Stay calm. In the clinic, no vanishing. Yeah, with Dr. Hink, it's the way back.